The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to whatever webinar this is um, from Elena, and she is here right now, and so I'm going to turn it over to her. I think, what is this, 26? I think I'm in
27.
It's 27. Okay, sorry. All right. Let me turn it over to her. Go ahead, please, Elena.
Thank you, BL. Welcome, everybody, on this 27th webinar, dealing with the whole 1937 year, starting from January. Because in the next instruction, which is, I think, for June or July 1937, DK is dealing purely or discussing her ray structure, which was conditioning her like soul, personality, the bodies, and so on. Okay? This is just information I am giving. So, as usually, before we start, we are going to make the usual alignment of the group field. So please make yourself comfortable, quiet, and withdraw your attention from the lower sense perceptions and achieve stillness in the three lower fields of the personality: physical, emotional, mental, and then raise the consciousness into the head, carrying the consciousness upward through the astral body and the mind to the soul. Identify the personality consciousness with the soul consciousness and realize that they are one. Assume the attitude of the observer upon the mental plane. And throw soul energy down into the center at the base of the spine. And then raise the soul energy slowly via the centers in the spine, and via the two centers in the head, up into the soul body upon the higher mental levels. Recognize the personality is aligned with the soul, forming one unit. And there is a fusion of the individual soul with the group soul on the level of the soul on its own plane. Then link the heart center in the spine with the heart center upon the mental plane, where we find the response to group vibration. And feel the group love uniting all the members of the group into one unit. And we sound the Om together as a group. Thank you. Now, as you know, the focal point of this webinar is the spiritual responsibility and how to be spiritually useful in relation to karma, fear, and detachment. And we further look at the garden. And so what we're going to do now is to read the passage where DK is speaking about it. Okay? So I'm going to bring it up on your screen.
We got it. Thank you.
Okay. We read it together, refreshing our memories. Is this mind stuff here which is blocking? Okay. Right. So here what he says. You are not so deeply immersed in the fogs of glamour, though you are still held back by fear. Not fear for yourself, but needless fears for those you love. You do not see them, the problems which they face, or the individual paths of destiny with clarity. This, as you may well surmise, prevents your being as spiritually useful to them as you might be. The usefulness of disciples to those who are linked karmically to them and for whom they feel rightly or wrongly a sense of responsibility shifts from stage to stage with growth. One's physical care for one's loved ones may and must persist in some measure, though a mother's care for a child cannot persist into adult years. There may be a responsibility which one chooses to shoulder, again rightly or wrongly, but it must not offset or undermine any responsibility which it should be theirs to shoulder. One's mental assistance should be always available, but it should not be given when one's mind is bewildered by the fogs of questioning and doubt, or when there is a spirit of criticism. One's spiritual responsibility is, curiously enough, usually the last to be considered. And action taken on that recognition is equally slow. Yet, in the last analysis, it is by far the most important. For one's spiritual influence can be lasting and can carry with it releasing power to those we love, whereas the other responsibilities, being those of personality relationships, always carry with them glamour, and that which is not of the kingdom of the spirit. For the remaining years of your life, lay the emphasis upon your spiritual responsibilities and your spiritual effect upon all you contact, or with whom your lot is cast. Work ever along the line of soul contact, leading to soul release and to the soul activity of those you love, and even of those you may not love. Thus you will begin to work on and from spiritual levels, and your potency as a worker will silently increase. This will in no way negate your right usefulness on planes other and lower than the spiritual. Now, this is extraction from DINA 1, pages 518, 519. Okay. Now, we know that C.D.P was prone to fear, doubt, worry, and suspicion, and D.K. brought them up already in the first instruction. And these are the energies, as we know, of the astral plane, and we have discussed them in some detail in previous webinars. But the one which was causing her most difficulties was fear, which represented the most important test for her in that incarnation. Now, these astral energies are conditioned by the obviously uncontrolled emotional nature of astral body and solar plexus, and need to be eliminated or brought under control of the soul, because they lead to glamour and are blocking the light of the soul, the love of the soul, the spiritual vision, and the sources of higher knowledge. That is why DK was telling her to keep the channel to the soul clear of all these obstacles. A fear for those she loved represents a secondary glamour, which dimmed the clarity of her vision and prevented her to see those she loved as they truly were. She failed to see them as souls, and this limited her spiritual usefulness to them. She was not able to give her children true mental guidance either, or advice, because her mind was clouded by glamour and fear and biased by criticism of them. Her relationship with them was based on personality love, not on soul love. So she was holding her children into adult years close to her, thus undermining the responsibility which was their own to shoulder. And this way she was holding not only their spiritual progress, but also her own progress. As we know, it is said that one of the first indications of soul control or soul contact is the sense of responsibility. Now, personality responsibility without the soul love usually involves glamour, and this was her case. all right responsibilities of the physical plane Dharma must be met by her. And these include those relationships which she has assumed as her physical plane Dharma. A clear vision as to these outer friendships and of family relations is a necessary requirement in treading the path for all disciples. And until she sees these relations in their true and right proportions, very Libra energy, her service is also handicapped. And clear vision and truth are of greater values than blind loyalty. You see, we see the polarity of the sixth ray, a very powerful sixth ray force, sixth ray glamour, the lower and higher aspects of the sixth ray, reflecting also the polarity upon the astral plane where she was moving from, moving between these polarities. And also in insufficient understanding. Now, clear vision is found in the world of the soul where she needs to build the antakarana and keep the vision clear from glamour. She had the difficult task to clearly recognize the lower and higher aspects of her powerful sixth ray energies and forces. You see, all that is spiritual lies beyond our present achievement. It is that which brings the vision into form or manifestation, and which urges us on towards a goal higher than the one attained. So in order to be spiritually useful to those she loved, she needed to treat them as spiritual people. And that would automatically lead to the recognition of her spiritual responsibility to them. In order to have spiritual effect upon others, her soul contact had to be stabilized. She needed to stand as the detached observer in the light, linking her soul with the soul of others. And this would lead to soul release and to soul activity also in others. When we're considering a sense of responsibility, we are really dealing with dharma, duty, obligation, which astrologically are conditioned by the midheaven, MC, or the 10th house. Karma and responsibility are very closely linked. And this brings in the planet Saturn as a lord of karma, and also as the generic ruler of the 10th house or midheaven. Another thing which need to be considered with this karma and responsibility are the nodal axes, relating the past and the future and the present together. Also, choice and decision is related to karma and responsibility, because every decision and choice we make, it we step in a particular direction and create a karma and further responsibility. And this brings in the energy of Libra, where Saturn has its exaltation, and also the energy of Capricorn, where Saturn is the exoteric and esoteric ruler. Karmic adjustments create balance, Libra. To this, we need to add the relationships between the planets, which rules Libra and Capricorn, which are Venus, Saturn, and Uranus primarily. Because we are considering the exoteric and esoteric rulers for this disciple. Okay? Hardly ever we come across somebody where we can use the hierarchical rulership. And in that case, even if we do, we still need to consider the exoteric and esoteric rulership with the hierarchical. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put up her natal chart, hopefully successfully, or not. Here we go. Where we're going to look in her natal chart of some of these energetic relationship to the topic we are considering here. As you know from previous webinars, that fear in this chart is related to that moon in Scorpio. Okay? And in that particular degree, it is related to the fourth test of Scorpio, or the first test of the astral body, which is here coming also under the Piscean decade of Scorpio. Okay? And so we are dealing with the test in relation to the second initiation for which she was preparing. Okay? So, as we see that the moon makes a close aspect to the nodal axis by sesquiquadrate and semisquare. Okay? And we see her nodal axes are in Pisces, Virgo polarity. Okay? Which is the same as the midheaven, IC and MC. We must also remember that her moon is waning Neptune. Okay? So, through its Pisces decade, by that I mean the moon, Pisces decade, it is related to the 10th house, Pisces, right? Where it is also the ruler of the Cancer decade of Pisces. And also the moon makes a trine to that MC. So you see that moon is extremely important and powerful in this chart. It is also the ruler of her ascendant in Cancer. Okay? It is also the esoteric ruler of Virgo, where it also veils Neptune on the higher level of its energy, obviously. And we're dealing with the Cancer house, okay, which is related to the family issues. We must remember that with that Neptune, which the moon veils, the moon carries also the midpoint, Neptune-Pluto, which are the rulers both of the MCIC and the nodal axis. Okay? And so we have also a very powerful presentation of the water signs here. Pisces, Scorpio, yeah, and Cancer in this chart. So it is not surprising that, I don't know why this is coming continuously up here, that we are dealing with a very strong psychic energy here and astral plane influence, obviously in relation to the Buddhi, but the influence of fear, which we are looking at here, it's coming from the 12th house, which is a Piscean house primarily, okay, in relation to that moon and the test of fear. So the moon, through its Pisces decanate of Scorpio, is also related to Saturn in Pisces, okay, because Saturn is the planet of karma here in relation to the responsibility and to the MC, which, as I said, is Saturn rules generically the 10th house. And it is also ruling the 7th house, Capricorn, area of relationship to others, and also the 8th house, which reflects the Scorpio placement of that moon, you see. And the Saturn is related to the Capricorn decanate of Taurus, which rule the Pisces house. That the Saturn is powerfully related to that Pisces, being in Pisces and ruling also is a part ruler of the 12th house, which is a Piscean house. And so these energetic connections indicate a close link between the past and present karmic relationships and the spiritual opportunity for this disciple to start working on the adjustment, redemption, and transformation of these energies. Okay? Now, whenever we find two houses ruled by the same sign and planet, as in this case is the planet Saturn, and the houses 7 and 8, these become very important, and particular in this process, which in the topic which we are discussing here. So we have here two polarities indicated between 1st and 7th house and 2nd and 8th house. it means these two houses are also in the same sign and ruled by the same planets, right? And these 4 houses, if you remember, we have discussed intercepted signs in relation to these 4 houses which are the same also, with the presenting, how would I say, the same energies on their polarities. Now, the intercepted signs obviously are Gemini and Sagittarius, and surprise, surprise, across the 12 and 6 houses. Okay? So you see the powerful relationship between the energies here. Okay? And we note that the 12th house, as I said, it's Capricorn Decanate Taurus, and the 6th house by Cancer Decanate of Scorpio. And this reflects the 2 Cancer Capricorn polarities which are conditioning the 4 houses, 1st, 2nd, 7 and 8 house. Okay? So, and the balancing energies between the 2 polarities of the 4 houses and the intercepted signs and 2 houses would come primarily from Libra. As I mentioned before, you know, the choices, the decision, and karmic responsibilities. Libra is very important sign to be considered. Okay? So, what we need to consider with Libra, obviously, are the signs which rule Libra in here is the Venus and Uranus, with the added influence of Saturn, who has its exaltation there in Libra, so it's very powerful in Libra. And this brings into focus the Venus-Saturn square from the 12th house, Venus, to Saturn in Pisces. Okay? So, and the moon also make, as I said, aspects to the nodal axis, and these nodal axes hold the midpoints of Sun Venus and Venus Saturn. Okay? And these planets are very important in this process, not only of balancing, but of the spiritual responsibilities on its higher levels of energies. Sun Venus midpoint is linking to the Sun semi-square to Venus and to Saturn. Okay? So it is reflecting the natal aspect between these planets, which are also midpoints on the nodal axis here, okay? And so indicating the past and present karmic relationships. Because whenever we are dealing with the nodes, we are dealing with a relationship of some kind, even if it is a soul contact or any kind of relationships, okay? And beside these Venus, Sun Venus and Venus Saturn midpoints, the node axis also hold the midpoint of moon nodes, interestingly enough, a double relationship of the moon to the nodes through direct aspect and through midpoint, okay? I am not giving the degrees of these midpoints because we cannot see them on the chart. They need to be calculated, and I will mention only some where particular it is related to the progressed energetic movement. Now, Uranus, as the esoteric ruler of Libra, brings important energy here to the balancing and calming, releasing process, because it's a planet of freedom, okay? In the process of, particularly of attachment, detachment struggle here of this disciple, by its square to the moon and trine to the sun, okay? Because sun and moon can be related both to personality, but it can be also raised to the esoteric rulerships, where both the sun and moon still will veil Neptune, but on a higher expression of that Neptune then. Now, Neptune, as the esoteric ruler of her Cancer ascendant, holds the Sun-Uranus midpoint, you see, reflecting the Uranus-Sun trine. And also, the Neptune holds the midpoints between the Venus and nodes and Saturn nodes, thus reflecting the also the direct relationships, you see, between the nodal axis and the planets. And also the same aspect that I also mentioned before, which is the Sun semi-square Venus and the Saturn, okay? So Neptune, as on its higher esoteric level here, in relation particularly to these two houses, first and second, from that level is shifting these energies to the spiritual levels of the soul, okay? So Neptune, both from the exoteric and esoteric rulership, is very important, together with the moon. I would say these two planets are extremely important for this disciple. We also note that the cusps of these four houses, the two polarities, okay, the first and seventh house are found in Cancer Capricorn decanate, okay, and 2 and 8 cusps in Pisces Virgo decanate, reflecting the axis of the nodes Pisces Virgo and MCIC Pisces Virgo. A very powerful relationship of energies which keep repeating itself and strengthening their influence. Okay? Now for this to consider the cusp, the chart need to be rectified. Otherwise, you know, we're having a hypothetical time or not rectified chart, it should not be considered, this cusp. Okay? And this, for me, indicates that this chart is pretty good rectified. Okay? For these polarities to reflect the rest of the other energies. Okay? Now we have discussed the intercepted signs in previous webinars, particularly I think in one of them, and those of you who are the regulars will remember this, where in that time I only mentioned these two houses which are ruled by the same signs, but I did say they make a powerful relationship to the intercepted signs because they are aiding in shifting the buried energies of the intercepted signs to bring them in the light of expression. You see, they are not expressed, particularly from the spiritual perspective. That's why the interception. Okay. So this has to be very detailed, more detailed consideration of this work, which we have no time for it now, but it gives you some idea how to look at these things and maybe practice it, okay, in your own charts or charts of others, okay, because this is a mutual working relationships indicated here, okay. Now what I will do, I will put up the quadra wheel. You see what happened to me? Close the program. Excuse me for this, but you know, for whatever reason this happens, and I need to bring the I will bring it now to the March 10, 1937, and I think I will bring this time 7 p.m. for a particular relationships to look here, okay? What are we going to look here to see some energetic progressions of some of the energies with addition to some other ones which we have just talked about. Okay, we see that there is one planet which is also very important in this process of adjustment, and that is Chiron. Okay, and also in a way of uh, karmic processes, karmic responsibilities. Okay, so here we're going to look at the square between the transiting Chiron in 17 Gemini. It's moving through the Piscean house, 12th house, squaring the transiting Neptune in 17 Virgo, moving through the 4th house. You see, 4 and 12 houses are karmically related houses. Okay? And Neptune is the ruler of these polarities here. Okay? Pisces, Cancer decanate Pisces, and Virgo here. And ruler also here, but I don't want to get involved in these houses at the moment. And it activates this transiting T-square, square Chiron Neptune, the natal Neptune in 2 degree Taurus. Okay? I should not really, what I was going to say. Well, I mentioned that the Neptune, you see, carries important midpoints, and that is Sun Uranus, which falls actually in 18 degree Gemini here. Okay? So the midpoints are automatically activated by this transiting Neptune Chiron square, you see? And that Sun Uranus is very important, reflecting the Uranus trine to the Sun, which we have talked about through the process of not only balancing but detachment and release from the fear and glamour. Okay? And another midpoints which the Neptune carries, it's a Venus with the nodes and which fall in Leo, 2 degree Leo, Leo and Scorpio. Okay, in here. And Saturn nodes, which we have already talked about, but now you see they are activated here through the progressions and transits. And they are, Saturn nodes are found in 17 Sagittarius Pisces. Okay? It is maybe for you difficult to understand how these midpoints can be found there, but it's a very special subject, to study. But these midpoints, you see, are extremely important because they are emphasizing, as you see, important energies, actually bringing together, for example, Sagittarius Pisces energy here. It means the midheaven, you see, of the 10th house with the intercepted sign here of Sagittarius. So all these relationships are very important, you see, to consider. The adjusting and guiding energies of that Chiron are really assisting in shifting the energies on the spiritual levels. Gosh. And if C.D.P avail herself to the presented opportunity of these energies present and available for her, that she would really move faster towards her goal. Okay? The transiting Saturn, you see, at the 24 Pisces, going through the 10th house, okay, square the solar arc Chiron in 24 Gemini, also in the Piscean house. Okay? Both activate Chiron Pluto and ascendant midheaven midpoints, which are found in 9-degree Taurus. You see, it's an aspect which semi-square from both planets, Saturn, transiting Saturn, and solar arc Chiron. Because all midpoints are found by aspects to one planet. It's a triangle of relationships reflecting the soul. And we are accessing the soul, going deeper into the underlying energies of the chart, which are not available on the first impact when we look at the chart. Okay? And so, which I should add to this is the further support is coming from the solar arc moon here in 11 Capricorn. It's moving through the 7th house of relationships, right? And it is moving over Mars Pluto midpoint, which is found in 26 Taurus. Okay. So here we are giving indication of a transforming process of personality, moon Mars energy, okay, Mars rulership of Scorpio also, which Mars is in the 12th house of Piscean house there, in a very critical degree of 29 Taurus, which is, as I said before, a Capricorn decanate. Okay? And so this is particularly transformational process from the perspective of the personality in relation to the fear which the moon represents. Okay? And the moon being in the Piscean decanate of Scorpio reflects that Mars-Pluto midpoint, because the planets rule this Scorpio-Pisces energetic placement of that moon related to fear. Okay? So you see how these midpoints indicate a deeper relationships here. Okay? Now, I need to bring the wheel now to 12. January. And I'm bringing a particular times, you see, with this movement here, because certain aspects, if I want to see them in close relationships, particularly of those planets which are moving faster are not seen unless they are brought into a particular time when they can be found together, you see. So this is a rather time-consuming process in here, but you know, you will see what I mean, which I always do in all the webinars. Actually, that's why, you know, it takes a longer time to really look at this. So actually the most important aspect of the year 1937 happens between the solar arc Pluto 21 Cancer 05 making a square to her natal sun in 21 Aries 05 exactly. That's why I have brought this chart to that particular day and time when this aspect is absolutely exact. Okay? And then there is a new moon happening on the same day and the same time in Capricorn at 22:05 Capricorn in the 7th house. Okay? And it is making aspect to both, to this square. 21 Pluto in Cancer and the Sun in Aries. Okay? By opposition to the Pluto and squaring the Sun. So this is the most powerful relationship of energies which, you know, we cannot spend much time on it. And I have to say that I am not bringing all the energies, only some of the most important. So those of you who will look at the astrology of it should look the rest of the energies. Okay? This is a powerful transformative combination here of energies to be utilized in regeneration of the relationships. You see, 7th house, okay, involved, and the energy of the Pluto particularly being involved here, which is the esoteric ruler of Pisces, okay, the nodal, the midheaven, the moon, Pisces decanate, you know, very important planet here. And if we wanted to also take the orb here, the new moon is activating both the natal Pluto, 22 Taurus by trine, and the progressed Pluto at 23 Taurus also by trine. So you see, it's a very powerful alignment of energies here, okay? And here, what she would need to utilize is the destructive will of that Pluto, used, you know, rightly, which can cut and clear all the obstacles in the personality, okay? Because the moon, the Pluto is the dispositor of that moon, both from Scorpio and the Pisces energies, where it rules, you see? So fear, as the most important obstacles in that personality, can be here started to be eliminated if she again recognized the opportunity and be able to utilize this energies, particularly that will of that Pluto. Okay? Because these stand also, these obstacles stand in the way of spiritual relationships and spiritual responsibility. You see, Pluto is also the ruler of Dharma Karma obligation here, Pisces, esoteric ruler. Okay? We're dealing with spiritual relationships now. In all these energetic relationships, 7th house, new moon, in relation to all the Plutos involved. Okay? So, and the transiting Saturn, which is moving through that 10th house of both personal and spiritual responsibilities, as a ruler of the 7, 8 houses, particularly now we're considering the 7th house, okay? And also dispositor of the Capricorn new moon, okay? And it's moving, you see, close to the angles here, MCIC, and it's making transiting opposition to that Neptune, together with Chiron, creating a T-square. Okay? So we have a repetition of the same energies, now considered purely from the aspects of the topic we are focusing on. Okay? Now, I'm sorry, I need to move this again to the February 16, and again to a particular time. Sorry. I would need somebody just to do this. It is so a 3:23 p.m. Okay. Now here we go. What we can find here, I'm sure I have brought this wheel here for a particular reason. Now, you see this progressed moon here. It's moving now through the 8th house, okay, which is the Scorpio house, reflecting its natal position. 27, a Capricorn 48, and the transiting sun is in 27, Aquarius 48. This is an alignment of moon and sun reflecting the moon aspects to that Uranus, okay, particularly the Sun Uranus trine. That's why this alignment here is important. You see, sometimes even the very fast moving planets like the Sun or the Moon by transit, when they are aligned with very important progressed, major progressed planets, are important to consider. You see, because they are bringing, like this Sun, the Aquarian energy, which is very important because Uranus also rules that 9th house of Aquarius where the Sun is moving through. Okay, so there are a number of points really to consider. Okay, and what these energies do, they activate the important midpoint of Sun-Saturn, in which falls in 27 Virgo, in the fourth house here, held by the natal moon. Okay, the moon is holding the Sun-Saturn midpoint, which is activated by the progressed moon and the transiting sun in the same degree. Okay, obviously they are related by a particular aspect, but I don't want to spend time to that. Now the transiting Saturn in 21 Pisces 54 is in Scorpio decade now of Pisces, reflecting the moon in its Pisces decade of Scorpio. Okay, so it has a very powerful relationship to that moon through this transit in that decade, and it makes T square with what? What would you say? It makes T square with the transiting node axis from 21 Gemini 49 to 21 Sagittarius 49. And would you believe, from Pisces house to the 6th house, Virgo Pisces, Saturn in Pisces. Intercepted signs, you see, that's how they come and must be considered in all these relationships in much more detail than we have time to look at. Okay? And the transiting moon on the same day is making exact aspect to the solar arc moon at 11 degree Capricorn 9 in 7th house, and the transiting moon in the same degree. And all these aspects, you see, I had to find them, mind you, laboriously, to bring it together, because they are important, and when they are happening at the same time, they are even more powerful. And that's why, you see, in our own charts, to look ahead and find this sort of relationship in order to be prepared to utilize them consciously and constructively, we need to find them. Okay? And this is another purpose why I am so keen, to present this relationship in such a detail that you can see how important they are. Now, what I'm going to do now is to bring the instruction section where he is speaking about detachment, because detachment process is very closely related, you see, to this whole process of responsibilities, spiritual and personal responsibilities also, because, she handled them from the personality level, okay? And she needed to learn to handle them from the soul level, okay? So here, what he says to her is, you are learning fast, my brother, and can break through to a deepened and more realized knowledge if you can train yourself in detachment from personal activity, with its unwise speech or silences, its criticisms, or its bolstering of that which is undesirable in others, and its moments of agonized indecision based on fear, which in your case is ever that of and for the personality aspect. This is apt to sweep you into unwise action or words and prevent your following of the light and the service which appear so clearly to you, to your vision in your high moments. Stand with steadfastness during the coming year. You see, he is indicating that the instruction is for the whole year, and stand detached. DINA 1, page 519. Okay? I don't know how I managed to bring all these things in here all the time. So what we're going to look now is, if I can sort of find the time which I put somewhere. Okay. I need to bring the quadra wheel, hopefully successfully, yes. Now to the 10 March at 7 p.m. Hopefully it is, sometimes I mix the times, p.m. Okay, now you see, when we were considering that transiting Neptune Chiron 17-degree square from Gemini to Virgo, from the karmic houses, okay, and activating that natal Neptune in Taurus, with all the midpoints, which I don't want to repeat here. This is further indicated by the transiting Saturn here, at 24 Pisces 35. Not only that it makes the square to that Gemini Chiron in 12th house, it is also bringing into more direct focus the solar arc moon here, okay, with its relationship there, which I have already indicated before, okay. But these relationships are now strengthened, you see, by other planets, like the transiting Jupiter, which is the ruler of Pisces, okay, in the 7th house. 24 Capricorn is opposition almost exactly within 1 minute to that solar arc Pluto at 21 Cancer 14, okay. That's why I'm bringing, you know, these days in addition to you know, what I maybe mentioned before, but it's further relationships here, okay, which obviously we cannot consider them all, but you see these nodal axes are right on the progressed sun Earth, on also in the 6, 12 houses, Gemini, Sagittarius, okay, and with a pretty close up, okay, 1949 to 1955, okay. So this is another very important relationship to consider together with the rest of the others, of the other relationships, okay. I don't want to, you know, go any further with this because, you know, I don't know how far I can carry on with such a detailed okay. I am sort of hesitating to follow up with this very detailed process from different months and different times and different, because it is very, very time consuming. Okay, so what in this process of adjustment, you see decay indicates here also the Chiron energy which she has to make in her personality, which is you know, ruled by Moon and Mars. Also Saturn involved there, in order to train herself in detachment from its unwise actions. And obviously this will bring more balance and right sense of proportion when making decision, you know, when making decision, which is Libra. And she can break through Uranian energy to deepened knowledge, okay, which is a Scorpio energy, okay. Maybe I should, for the moment, put the natal chart just to show something here. Obviously, it is okay. I hope you are patient with me here, how I'm foundering here, deciding what to bring up and want to leave out for the time, you know, is getting very quickly forward here. So you see, when I was thinking the breakthrough process in that passage on the detachment, I am thinking also about Mars-Uranus energy being involved in there. So, and Mars, I said I find the Mars-Uranus midpoint to see where it is. And it is falling at 7 Cancer. And it's carried by Pluto, would you believe it? By semi-square to that Pluto. By that I mean the natal Pluto now, okay? We can't see it here, but I have calculated, and that's where it falls. And you see it makes a semi-square to that natal Pluto. So we have a very powerful breakthrough energy here of the right planets brought together with that midpoint Mars-Uranus and the natal Pluto. And you know, Mars-Pluto are going back to that moon, Pisces decanate, of Scorpio, Pluto, midheaven, Pisces, okay? And Mars, obviously, to Scorpio. So all these energies are relating to the rest of the planetary relationship we have already considered. So to break through, she has to use the first ray. The first ray, okay, which carry here is particularly Uranus and Pluto, and obviously the Mars too, on its own level, okay? Because Mars is considered by sixth ray, conditioned by sixth ray on personality, but first ray on its own level, okay? So the breakthrough energy on a soul level of the first ray here. And Uranus, you see, by square is found on the midpoint of Venus Chiron, which falls at 15 degree Taurus. You see, very close, 15 actually, exactly. Okay, so the Venus Chiron, it brings Chiron as an adjusting energy here, okay, and the Uranian energy together with that Venus, bringing the Libra balancing process of the Libra ruling the fifth house of children, where is the fear for the children represented by the moon. Okay? And the midpoint of Saturn Chiron falls at 00 degree 0008 Libra, activating also the nodal axis automatically. And so we have a relationship of the Venus, Uranus to the Libra with Saturn, because we have a Venus square Saturn, okay, natally. And Saturn exaltation to that Libra in relation to the Venus Saturn square. So you see again, combination of energies are coming together here in relation particularly to the detachment from the personality in relation to her most problematical test of that fear. Okay? Now, indecision, you see, based on fear, we read in that passage there. Okay? We have a decision and indecision. It's always Libra here. Adjustment, energies have to be involved. And this is particularly related to that moon, obviously, in that fifth house, ruled by Libra. And also, moon midpoint, would you believe? One of the midpoints of the moon is Mars Chiron midpoint, falling at 12 degrees 33, directly opposition to that moon, very closely, 12, 22, 12, 33. And a Mars Chiron is directly involved to that Scorpio, and through Pisces decanate, Mars is in Piscean house, and it's square Saturn also. So you see, if you follow all these relationships, you see, now particularly to the detachment process of the person from the personality issues, and we are focusing on that fear primarily through these energies. Okay? And the detachment from the personality is also primarily represented by the square to that Uranus from the moon. Okay, the releasing process, the balancing process as an esoteric ruler. You see Uranus ruling Libra esoterically. Okay, and Mars, it's dispositor not only of the moon in Scorpio, but also of all her Aries energies, particularly the sun, which also is one of the indicator of personality. Okay, and obviously, you know, Uranus is the trine, which we have already mentioned from other relationship of other planets. Okay, so detachment in is the bridging. You see, the detachment is the bridging quality from personal to impersonal to spiritual responsibility. Okay, and that's why the importance for her to develop that detachment. Okay, so what are we going to do now? I'm just looking at the time, you know, that I would like to bring this relationship here for our look, but I need to bring the quadra wheel successfully, yes, to January 18. January 18 at oh my God, the more I am trying to be quick, 3:20 p.m. Okay. Now here we are at January 18, 3:20 p.m. time. And what is it I want to bring in here? The transiting, hopefully it is here, T-square between 18 Pisces 49 Saturn in the 10th house, Neptune 18 Virgo in 4th house, and Chiron. We have looked at some of these energies already, but you see they have reached here Sun-Uranus midpoint also at the 18 Gemini, which is close also to the progressed Sun. And it is interesting that this Sun-Uranus midpoint is carried by the natal Neptune, okay, which is sextile to the natal Saturn in Pisces, okay, where Neptune is the ruler, okay, and Sun conjunct Chiron natally, you see, and thus emphasize those energies by this T-square of the transiting Neptune, Saturn, Chiron. Okay? Transiting Uranus at 5 Taurus there activates Uranus-Chiron midpoint, which falls at 20 Gemini, close to that progressed sun, which the sun is going to reach. Okay, and it is by semi-square. You see, it is almost exact aspect to that midpoint of Sun Uranus. Sun Uranus with Uranus, reflecting the natal Uranus trine to the Sun. Okay, and the Chiron is reflected through that. The Chiron transit through that Sun Chiron conjunction in Aries natally. Okay. Wow. I am trying to cut things here because it's so many. I would like to bring something about the garden. Okay? Because this was something important information which DK is giving us about the garden. It is a small passage where he says, and my brother, follow the occult exercises indicated and return again to your garden, which still can be found serene and fair within the world of thought. The summit of its tower pierces the world of souls, and when you mount the steps which lead there, you will find yourself in the realm of clear vision, wide wisdom, and universal love. What a powerful keywords found in DINA 1, 519. Okay. Now, you see, if you read this, do you see, especially those of you who follow these webinars, some new information beyond the one which we have already discussed through the webinars in relation to this garden and the tower? Okay? Because you remember that the summit of the tower was reaching the highest mental subplane, the atomic subplane, where we find the abstract mind, where she needs to build the Antakarana, of which the tower is also a symbol. Okay? Now, what is the further information, at least to my understanding, which I would like to share with you in this passage? That the Antakarana, which he has to build, is not only from the concrete mind to the abstract mind, but also to the soul. This is reflected, you know, here when he says the steps, mount the steps. There is not only one step to mount, but there are steps. And this I understand, you see, that she needs to build the Antakarana from the concrete mind to the soul, and from the concrete mind to the abstract mind, and close the triangle from the soul to the abstract mind. You see? Because when this triangle between the concrete mind, the soul mind or son of mind, and abstract mind is completed and in full conscious utilization, it would make the second initiation possible. And this goes for all of us, not only for this disciple, you see, in relation to creating the building of the Antakarana, okay? Because it would stabilize her in the world of the soul, you know, on its own plane, okay? And what it would do, it would open the door to the spiritual triad through the abstract mind, okay? We are told that the mind receives impression from the soul, and the registered intuitions coming from the Buddhic plane via the soul then can be formulated into thoughts, and the vague and unexpressed vision is clarified. And the soul is linking the mental plane to the Buddhic and the mind to the intuitional consciousness. Okay? Now, abstract consciousness, as the combination of the intellect and intuition, bringing the Saturn-Neptune energies with it, reveals the wisdom aspect, Jupiter, of love, Venus, as intelligent love. We have 3 planets here which are conditioning second initiation, Venus, Jupiter, Neptune. And these 3 planets also reflect the 3 qualities which he mentioned here: the clear vision, Neptune; wide wisdom, Jupiter; and universal love, Venus. And these 3 qualities reflect Buddhic energy, you see. We are told that intuition is a comprehensive grip of the principle of universality. And in its highest, it is known as the universal love or identification with all beings. Why is he mentioning, you see, this universal love in relation to the Buddha? For a number of reasons, but she needs to identify with all beings through the love. Okay? The secondary energy of her soul can transmute also devotion of the strong 6-ray force of the personality into universal, non-critical love. Now, spiritual activity is related to the abstract mind, which, as I said, opens the door into the triad. Now, for C.D.P., who had the astral Buddhic connection, it would bring in the intuitive or Buddhic energy when she developed pure love, one of her keywords in her development formula standing for the P, C.D.P. And if you remember, we talked about pure love related or being almost on the same level with the pure reason, a Buddhic quality. A pure love is the result of pure reason. Okay? We see how on the inner levels she is quite highly advanced, unfortunately not manifesting it on a physical plane. Now the contacts which are founded upon an astral Buddhic consciousness are carried on within the mental levels where the garden is. Okay? On the abstract levels of the mental plane, okay, in mental substance, and involve the three aspects of the mind upon the mental plane: concrete mind, son of mind, and abstract mind. And DK said to her that her sixth-ray brain makes her intuitive or astral buddhic. That's why such unusual ray energy conditioning her physical body and also physical brain. Okay? We would be looking at it more closely at the next webinar, where DK is discussing all her ray conditioning, her different levels: personality, soul, and the three lower bodies. Okay? Now, the higher aspect of abstract mind is the atomic plane. Okay? When the abstract mind is developed and sensitive, it can become the seed of the spiritual will, the atomic will, which is necessary and start to, in somewhat more conscious expression, at the second initiation. We need to utilize it more consciously in order to enter the ashram of a Chohan. Okay? It is interesting that in this instruction, DK brought to our attention the word spiritual, because spiritual activity, you know, linking the abstract mind here, and as a lowest aspect of the spiritual triad, where Buddhic love is technically considered as spiritual love, and atomic will as spiritual will. Okay? So he brought to this instruction for the first time, and maybe this is the only instruction of all her instruction, a focal point on the word spiritual, and bringing the word spiritual from the perspective of spiritual effect, spiritual responsibility, a spiritual usefulness, and here even giving us how she had to utilize that garden, symbolizing so many different energies, even from this perspective of building that antakarana and formulating that triangle of the three minds on those levels where she builds that garden. Okay? Now, you know, if you want me to finish here, I would, but you know, you wouldn't learn something more further important, which I have to say, that when you see, when we want to know how the mind is working and what type of mind we are utilizing, we should examine initially the planets Mercury and Venus. Okay? Because in this chart, I should really bring her natal chart. Sorry. Here, this one. In her chart, you see where we find Mercury in its esoteric placement in Aries, and Venus in its esoteric placement in Gemini. There are powerfully relationships. I don't want to go into details, just bringing these fundamental points here, okay? And I went to the trouble to find again the midpoint which these two planets hold individually. And Mercury holds Saturn-Uranus midpoint. You remember we already mentioned it. In 25 Scorpio. It would fall somewhere here in this house. And reflects the lower and higher mind. You see, Saturn and Uranus rule the abstract mind. Okay? And Saturn also rules the lower mind. And Uranus, from the atomic perspective, is related, you see, reflected in that abstract mind. And that's, we are learning now from that Mercury on that midpoint, Mercury, Saturn, Uranus, Mercury, lower mind, Saturn, both can rule lower and higher mind, and Uranus, higher mind, abstract mind particularly. Okay? Now, we would not get a glimmer of this so powerfully without that midpoint, you see? That's how important the midpoints are. And now, the Venus holds the midpoint Mercury-Neptune, which falls in 20 Aries, near the Sun somewhere there, and creates a link between the soul mind, Venus, and intuitive perception of the Mercury-Neptune midpoint. It also gives strong power of imagination and creative imaginative process in building that antakarana, and also a potential for establishing a spiritual relationship between people. Venus in relation to that Libra energy. Okay? And if we align the two planets together, the Uranus will enter in with that Venus as the another ruler of Libra. Okay? And Mercury, Venus midpoint, falls in 6 Taurus, 49. And you see, I know I'm trying to finish this as quickly as I but you see, I'm going to present the last time the quadrawheel, because I want you to see the activation of that Mercury-Venus midpoint, you see, by Uranus. And for you to see it, I need to bring the wheel for March 8. March. Okay. If I change the time a little bit here to make it, I don't know if this one would do. Let's see. Now, you remember what I said? That the Mercury-Venus midpoint falls in 9 degree Taurus 49. Look at the Uranus. That's why I brought this particular day of the March 8 to really, for us to see that how important again are these midpoints. And so Uranus on Mercury, Mercury Venus midpoint, exactly. So we have a triangle here, bringing together soul life, Venus, concrete mind, Mercury, Uranus abstract mind. So this creative combination of energies can be utilized not only in building of her Antakarana, but you see it stands behind her gift and ability she had for writing. She wrote a number of books, speaking, she was giving lectures, and she had the appreciation for beauty also. A very creative person, okay? Now, my God, you know, I'm not going to drag you, you know, through all this because anyway, solar arc Neptune, where is it? At 1 degree, Cancer 07, make exact quincunx to the natal Jupiter in 1 Sagittarius 07 in the same day. And now this is the aspect of creative imagination, okay? Also of her great generosity and selflessness and love of art, okay? And the transiting Mercury, look at her, on the same day, 3 degree Pisces, okay, activates the solar arc square between Saturn and Venus from 3 degree Taurus to 3 degree Leo Venus. Okay? Again, bring the 3 aspects of the mind together into close relationship. Okay? Bill, maybe you ask people if they are still with me, or should I finish this?
Can you guys give us a show of hands and let us know? Because it is fascinating. I mean, you're pointing out exactly how her chart is lit up on
Yeah.
these days in a fashion that coincides with what DK was pointing out to her. So can we see a show of hands of how many people would like her to continue?
It is not going to take very long. It is going to take just maybe, maybe 5 minutes. Okay, no more than that.
Well, the majority says that they would like you to continue, please. And for those of you who need to, you can leave and then you can always get the recording because, like many of us, we have to go back and listen to it again and again.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, it's just a few sentences here in addition to this. I need to change the wheel for staying in March, for moving it. Oh my God. Excuse me. I have where I have all the times listed. It escaped me in my in my notes. Sorry about this. I am coming to it.
Take your time.
Okay, 11 March. 11 March. Sorry. 11 March at 6 a.m. Would you believe it what I'm doing here? Okay. No, I hope I got. What did I do wrong? Messed it up something. 6 a.m. Okay. Now, what I want for you to see here now, that you see, when there are aspects by solar arc, they always last few days. So the same aspect is still operating between the Neptune solar arc 1 degree Cancer 07 to that Jupiter 1 degree Sagittarius 07. But you see, it is supported now by the transiting Venus at 1 degree Taurus 05. You see very close relationships here established. I should point out here that the planet Jupiter, from the general unitive point of view, is also ruling abstract mind. Okay? As additional information with this. So we see here together Venus, Jupiter, Neptune, again planets which condition the second initiation, repeating itself. Okay? So all these processes she was going through in development of detachment, dealing with the fear and all personality issues, and developing all the spiritual responsibilities and how would I say, usefulness, you know, is behind her preparation for the second initiation. Okay? And the Jupiter-Neptune contact, you know, reflects the natal contact. The same quincunx is present between the natal Neptune and natal Jupiter, right? 2 degree Neptune, 1 degree Sagittarius quincunx. Now it is from the solar Neptune to the natal Jupiter. Okay? Re-emphasizing the importance of that relationship. Visualization, creative imagination, these are the major energies behind this Jupiter-Neptune contact here also. Okay? What I just add, which I already only re-emphasized, that the transiting square between that Chiron and Neptune at 17 Gemini Virgo is activating not only the natal Neptune, but is focusing here on the adjustment of the lower six-ray force in her personality into the higher intuitional energy of the six-ray, which bring primarily the clarification of the vision and through the activation of the 3 levels of the mind. Thank you very much for your patience with me through this rather floundering process. But, you know, I thought through this information you can utilize in your own processes, in your own astrology. Because you see how important these relationships are with the midpoints. because the midpoints create triangles and they reflect the soul underlying the astrology, which is seen through the major aspects. Okay? Everything is linked to each other, and the polarities of the houses which I mentioned, particularly those which are ruled by the same signs and houses, have to become unite into one. You see, there is also triangular relationship primarily through the intercepted signs, which reflects the midpoints. If you can understand a little bit what I'm trying to say. But that's it. That's my last comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena. Let me really quick, okay, you've got a thank you from Walter. Let me really quickly unmute everybody just so they can say goodbye, or let me see. So they can say goodbye, or if anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Elena. Loved it. Eva here.
Who is that?
Elena. Eva.
That was Eva.
Oh, Eva, you are here too. Sorry, I didn't see who was present on the webinar.
Many thanks, Elena.
Thank you so much. I'm exhausted.
I think we all are.
I hope spiritually exhausted.
Elena?
Thank you, Elena.
Suzanne says thank you for your dedication. And she also wants to know if you know the webinar which discussed interceptions.
Not offhand, no. But if she checked the focus of the webinars, maybe she can find it that way.
Right. Yeah, Suzanne, we put the focus of the webinar. It's there. Brett posts it for us on Makara, so you can go look at the
Thank you.
mini synopsis.
Okay.
Thank you for your interest, Suzanne.
And Anne says thank you. Your patience, persistence, and knowledge are
That would be
astounding.
an awesome change of pace, period. I would love to, exclamation point.
Thank you, Elena.
Who is that?
That's
Walter.
me.
Walter.
You know when you guys are heading in that direction.
Thank you, Walter.
Hello, Elena. It's Michael, and I want to thank you. You are incredible.
Oh, my goodness. What a high compliment. Thank you for your participation, you know.
And I look forward to next month's.
Yes.
Elena.
Yes.
Leah here. The exhausted Leah. Intercepted signs were number 19, I think.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. Okay, well, I'm going to say goodbye, and I'm going to end the webinar. So again, thank you very much, Elena.
I thank you for all the people who are still, you know, in here to the last minute with persistence and patience. Stay with me, supporting me somehow. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena. Thank you all.
Thank you, Elena.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night to everyone.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.